Yves August Fáilte Arash to the Crazy House Prices podcast with me, Ciarán Mulqueen, and today I'm chatting with a good friend of mine, Shay Lally from Houses to Restore on Instagram. I'm sure a lot of you know the page and know Shay, and he's good crack, and he is also has a lot of experience with all things quantity surveying. So in this episode, we are going to talk about, well, basically I'm going to post 5 questions to Shay that you guys sent in, 5 kind of bigger questions, and then we'll finish up with 5 quick fire questions as well, touching on everything from asbestos to cost per square meter to renovate a home to retrofitting and heat pumps and all the rest. So it's a really good chat. So you're going to hear a little ad before we do that, and then we're going to have a chat. There'll be a little ad in the middle, and then we finish strong at the end again. So make sure you're following me on Instagram at Crazy House Prices for updates and tips on all things housing market in Ireland. I have an outrageous amount of content over there, and let's get into it. Hi, I am just going to pause the podcast for a second to talk to you about some sponsors of the Crazy House Prices podcast. This episode is sponsored by Daft.ie. Daft is Ireland's #1 property portal. Daft has the most properties available for sale and rent and is the preferred national property website amongst consumers in Ireland. So Daft.ie's core vision is to make buying, selling and renting property better for everyone in Ireland. So Daft's mission is to simplify each step of every property transaction in the Irish market to make buying, selling and renting in Ireland simple. That's why Daft.ie build innovative tools like Offers by Daft, an online real-time offers platform that provides never before seen transparency for the Irish consumer when buying a home. Are you looking to buy? Maximise your chances of finding your dream home by visiting Daft.ie, Ireland's #1 property website. Now, Seamus, welcome to the Crazy House Prices podcast. Do you get annoyed when people call you Seamus?
Absolutely hate it. I'm not going to lie. The only people who will let get away with it really are my parents and I suppose my siblings, because they don't call me Seamus. But outside of that, and in fairness, anyone who really, really knows me, I suppose, will say it as sort of like a term of affection. But I remember I was out with a friend once in a cafe, and I just happened to bump into a guy I used to work with years ago, and like that, he greeted me with Seamus. But the way he said it, it was like a term of affection. So it's very difficult to get annoyed with someone like that.
I just do it to wind you up, to be honest, because I know you don't like it.
I know.
Like people purposely calling me Kieran.
Yeah.
But anyway, welcome to the Crazy House Prices podcast. We've been meaning to do this for a long time, and I know our millions and millions of fans will be eagerly waiting, listening to this. So we'll have a little chat, and then I have some questions then from the listeners or from followers or whatever to run through, build costs, all that kind of stuff, your services and bits like that. Yeah, how's that sound?
Sounds great.
How are you getting on anyway?
Yeah, I'm really good. Really good. Yeah, enjoying it. It's a lovely day. I'm actually going to a wedding now this afternoon. So I thought I was being really organised by committing to doing this morning, and I had the best of intentions, but having a bit of a disaster of a morning. But sure, look, we'll get there. Well,
a wedding on a Wednesday, and you've got, I don't know, you're running 3, 4, 5, 6 businesses. How many businesses have you got?
2.
Just 2?
Yeah.
Well, not really, because the Instagram is mine is a business. Well, it's a limited company, but it's you have that. Then you have the construction stuff. Then you have the painting. You have the mobile music skill.
Yeah, I boxed painting and the construction in under the one thing, though, to be completely honest. So that's one entity, if you like, even though it's two very different services. And then the music school, yeah, that's but I'm very lucky. Like, I have a great team that runs the music school for me. Look, I'm actually blessed, and that's actually who's getting married today, Claire, who runs the music school for me. So I'm really, really lucky there, to have that. So it does give me the time to do things like this. But I suppose if you count, I was going to say if you count Crazy House Prices, if you count Houses to Restore, I suppose it is 3 things. Yeah.
I like to just fabricate it, and it sounds better when you say you have 4 jobs.
I think people think they look at you as if to say, "Are you mad?"
Yeah, I get that a lot as well. Or how do you find the time? That's the one I get the most, And I actually don't know how I find the time.
You know what, though? I think when you're busy, like you obviously sent me an email there at about 6 a.m. And I think when you're busy and you've loads of bits on, you are just better with your time. You're more productive. And I'm sure, like, you have kids now, so I'm sure, like, you have a window of opportunity to do certain things, and you just have to get stuck in and do them. So, yeah, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, I was up at 5:30 sending that email, but that was Milo was awake, so he was in, woke us, and I was like, Oh, I meant to send those questions over to Shay. So, the hustle, the grind never stops. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. And as I put up on my Instagram the other day, I think when we first started these pages, I think things were different for us. I think we just kind of winged it a little bit, didn't we? And now you kind of feel a need because there's more people watching and more people listening. You kind of feel a need to be maybe that bit more professional, and maybe that takes a little bit of the fun away sometimes. So it's nice to get the questions at the end of there, or not to put really any thought into them and just jump on and answer them to the best of your ability, sort of on the fly, if it were.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I find, like sometimes I could spend a week creating a post, whether it's a reel or a video or whatever, or a podcast or whatever it is, any of the content, and then it'll do like they all do kind of well, but then I might just record something on a whim, take 30 seconds, post it without even thinking about it. Don't worry about the time of post or whatever, and then the thing will go viral. So it's just that's Murphy's Law, isn't it? Just the way it goes.
100% all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I've a whole list of things on my phone to do. I have a list of different ideas, different reels, different posts that I think would really help people. But it's just getting the time is tough. But now Maisie's in creche during the day, and my wife Melissa has Milo now, so I have a couple of hours. I'm doing this now with you, and then I'm going over to the gym, to my brother's gym, and he's going to do a session with me over there. I'm going to record that actually, and that's a nice day. I'm dropping my coffee machine off to get fixed. So this the benefit of being a teacher. Yeah, one of my 5 jobs. That the benefit of that is I can get time off in the summer.
I won't say how much time you get off. Yeah, you get a lot of time off. To be fair, it's not a job though.
Not enough. You know loads of teachers, don't you, Shay?
I do. I know a lot. Yeah.
Too many.
Well, I used to know a lot. Let's just say.
Well, but you do your mobile music skills are in skills as well, isn't it? Like that's
all we do. So with that business, we basically teach music skills, and that's what it was set up to do. And I set it up in 2011. I set it up. I'd made the decision. I used to play. A lot of people notice I used to play percussion in the RT concert auction. I used to freelance as a percussionist, and I just always kind of had quantity surveying in the back of my head. So I made a decision to go back to Bolton Street, and then I realized like my income would disappear by going back to college. And I wasn't really that old going back. I was probably maybe 22 or something, but I was just used to making a lot of money, and I kind of felt like, how am I going to get by? So I had an idea for that business, and I set it up. I never really expected it to, I suppose, turn out the way it did. Like the plan wasn't to still have it in 2024, if you know what I mean. But it just kind of latched on. And I realized then it was just too good a thing to let go, But as you say, teach music and skills, and I think, I don't know, probably around 150 skills a year we teach aim primary skills, and a lot of the programs will be kind of 6, 12, 18, 24 week, and some will be 30 week. It just depends on the school and what they book in. So yeah, it's busy, but it's something I really love, and it's something that I always do, and it's something that'll always be a part of me, to be completely honest, regardless of what else I'm doing with my life.
And do you get any time now to play any music yourself?
No, the trouble is, it's like, you're big into the soccer, and I know you still do a bit of five-a-side, but let's just say like you were playing at a serious level, and then you just stop playing, your fitness level just completely drops as a footballer, obviously, So, and even though your skills are there somewhere, it would just take you so long to get back into it. So I suppose for me, my skills are there, but I'm just don't fit, essentially, because I don't play I'll ever, like, really, to be completely honest. So, and the other thing is, like, playing percussion and playing drums and stuff, like, all of the equipment is very big and cumbersome, and you'd like want to be buying like a country house with an outbuilding that you could literally just set up a load of equipment, and that you could just walk into and you could just play and enjoy and practice on. But I don't have that luxury right now anyway, and it's also very time consuming, That was the big thing I always felt playing percussion. Like, you could put so much, regardless of gigging and practicing, you had to put so much time into practicing, because you might be playing a particular percussion instrument, like something random, like a vibraphone that you mightn't have played for 9 or 12 months, and you just need to kind of refresh yourself. That was one of the reasons that actually just made me think that, but long term, and I just kind of didn't feel like I'd actually sustainably keep at that level all of the time and to put all those hours in between doing self practice, rehearsing, and gigging, That's actually the reason that prompted me then to go down the QS route, to be honest.
Well, I guess the drums isn't the quietest instrument to be playing for your neighbours.
No,
Although
definitely
you can
not.
get the electric ones that the sound goes through your headphones. Don't
Yeah, they're brilliant, but they're a little bit of a false economy, because it's kind of like an assisted bounce on a lot of them. So it actually makes you feel or sound better than you actually are. So it
Oh,
feels
okay,
like
yeah.
your wrists and your fingers and everything are in better shape than they really are. So yeah, they're great. Like they're a bit of fun. So if you just wanted a bit of fun, absolutely. But if you wanted to get back playing, yeah, I think it's a bit of a false economy thinking you're going to practice on one and be great.
I play a bit of guitar in school.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not, yeah, I'm not great, like, but I'm very much school level, but I can
yeah, yeah.
play a few tunes, and I do like, at friends' weddings and stuff, I'll bang out a few tunes in the afters. But the my school's quite musical. My principal's mad into music. He'd play anything. Like we play some Savage songs. We had our graduation there because I had sixth class, and we played George Michael Freedom.
All right.
And we did harmonies, we did things with them, and it just sounded unreal. But
Yeah.
you get a real buzz off it, playing the tune in front of a decent crowd. Like there's a couple of hundred people there, but it's good for the head, isn't it? Just to play a bit of
Yeah.
music. And if we're running 15 businesses as you are, could be nice, just to bang the drums every now and again.
Yeah, a little breakaway. Well, look, I kind of have my eye on the door here. Like, I'm living in Portmarnock, I'm planning to move, and part of the reason I'm planning to move is that, like, I'd like to have a bit more space. And I'd imagine if I have a bit more space, I will buy an electric drum kit. I just don't really have the space here for one right now.
Yeah.
So that's actually part of me thinking about moving. Not just because I can have an electric drum kit, but just to give me a bit more space, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there's actually a few questions come in about that kind of stuff, extensions and all of that. So I guess we should probably actually start chatting a little bit about QS stuff and construction and bill costs and all that stuff. So I got a load of questions sent in, as I said, and with the help of artificial intelligence, I have whittled them down to 5 kind of normal questions, and then we'll do quick fire questions at the end then as well. How's that sound?
Sound great, yeah.
Okay, right. So the really common one coming in was obviously going to be renovation costs and feasibility. So I know myself from doing our own renovation, it's really tough. And I'm doing a podcast on the vacant home thing at the moment. It's really tough to predict what prices are going to be like. You get quotes, and for the vacant home thing, you have to get quotes, and then you go back and you send it off to the council and whatever. But prices, will change, and you uncover different things. You uncover problems that you didn't kind of predict, and this is where I guess you come in as a quantity surveyor. So I guess the first question is, with those renovation prices staying high, we know they went up during COVID, and like most things in Ireland, once they go up, they don't tend to come back down. But can you give an overview of maybe where the current costs are for renovating homes in Ireland, and do you see these decreasing anytime soon?
I'm going to answer the second part first. I can't see them decreasing anytime soon, simply because of just of a labour shortage, and that's a big, big problem. So there's just simply too much work and too few lads. It's just too few people. That's just the way it is. Materials, I think, have simmered somewhat, to be fair, but what's keeping the prices high is the labour issue. And I think if you look at the apprenticeship scheme, it obviously takes 4 years for someone to get trained as a kind of tradesperson. But it's a long, long time. Even if everyone who did their leaving cert this year decided to go off and do a trade, you're only really going to get the benefit of them in 4 years' time. So it's a very slow process to get those operatives and people in the business. So as a result, I can't see the prices dropping anytime soon. Where's the price point at? It's a question. It's probably the most commonly asked question I get in houses to restore. Very, very difficult answer for every single house type. Like if you buy an apartment, like you could renovate a 2-bed apartment for 50 or 60,000 if you're like those tastes and desires are quite kind of basic, if you know what I mean. And then if you have a house where like you want to go high end, like you could spend anywhere between say €1,000 a square meter upwards. You could spend 2,500, €3,500 per square meter. It all depends on the condition of the current house, what remedial work you have to do to it, and then the extent of everything that you want to put into it, like the fittings, the finishes. You could spend £100 in the kitchen.
Yeah, easily. Like I just know from doing it ourselves, and you can buy cheap materials or like your finishes, or you can go more high end. So I guess for people that are looking at houses, I'm a big fan of people buying a house where as like your page where they're going to restore it and fix it up and gut it and renovate it, because if you sometimes depends who renovated the house previously. Let's say you're looking at a turnkey house. Who renovated it? Was it a family that were renovating it to live in it, and did they put money into it like our own, or was it a builder who bought it and is now flipping it? Because they might just put things in a lick of paint to make it look good in the photos, but the actual quality of it isn't great. The floors aren't great. So I just know for ourselves, like everything we did in the house is custom. It's custom made kitchen, custom wardrobes in every room, in the living room, custom alcove units. Everything is custom. So it's and the floor, it's a hardwood floor. So we just knew, like, look, we're gonna hopefully live in this house forever. So we're gonna, go really high end on the finishes. But if we were just planning on being here for a couple of years, we may have gone a lot cheaper, and that would have brought the renovation costs down a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, those things only really start to show up then, the cheap kind of stuff, after a few years with wear and tear, where it starts to look a bit shoddy. So I would just say to people, if they're looking at houses and they're already renovated and turnkey, just really inspect the finishes, have a look, like, are they going to last, or were they just made to look like this to increase the value of the home as much as possible for selling?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one. But as you said, I just know from back then, and things are even worse now, the cost of things can vary wildly. Like,
Yeah, I think I'm actually a good example myself. And even aside from houses to restore, when I bought my place, like, I didn't have houses to restore, and I bought it in Portmarnock, and I bought it. You're gonna hate this, but I bought it with the intentions of hanging on to it and renting it and kind of having it as a pension pot. And I've kind of changed my mind on that because it's appreciated and whatever, without getting into the specifics of that. But when I renovated the place, I kind of thought to myself, look, I'm going to be here for no more than 5 years, and 7 years later, I'm still here. But exactly like what you're saying, Kieran, like, not that I screamed, I put in some nice things, like I put in a really nice floor that I think made the place. I redid the ensuite, I redid the bathroom. Because I'm using the ensuite every day, you can see the wear and tear, you can see the cheaper sanitary ware beginning to get a bit faded looking. Being realistic, when I go to sell it, I actually had the plumber who does work for me come in to have a look at it, because I'm going to spruce it up prior to selling it. So that's definitely one factor, and that's definitely one thing that I've even seen in my own ensuite. The bathroom still looks very clean because guests only use it when they come over for a couple of hours there. So that still looks immaculate, to be completely honest. And then the kitchen, rather, like, all I did in the kitchen was put floor tiles in it, and I painted it. But if I spent €40,000, if even, I think €30,000 is what I spent at this apartment. And, like, in fairness, I did a lot of the strip out work myself. I just changed the plates on the sockets and switches. I kept it really basic, and I just kind of, I wouldn't say live within my means, because I could have spent more on it, but I was very conscious. This is a 2-bed apartment. It has a particular ceiling price, and I'm not going to be staying here forever. So did a bit of upcycling. So totally agree with you. And then the other side, like, we do some work for investors, and some of the things I do see that investors do, like, is exactly as you say. They'll replace all of the floor coverings. They'll put in a new kitchen. They'll likely put in a decent new kitchen, in fairness to some of them. They'll put in an ensuite bathroom and stuff like that looks like a new ensuite bathroom, but not necessarily capitalizing on what they could do with their old rooms, to be completely fair. And then they don't tend to say do things like maybe replace windows if they can get away with it, and they don't necessarily say insulate walls and do that sort of thing. So the BER might still be kept low on these houses, but when you walk in, it actually looks great. But as you say, then when you go looking at it, is it really all that great? Because chances are it's to a very kind of particular look, like that kind of landlord look. But as you say, that kind of house flip look. And most people don't want to live in that, to be completely fair,
Yeah, and then if you're going in and ripping all that out, it's just a bit of a waste. But anyway,
yeah.
Next question. I actually get this one a lot, I guess, because of where we are in Dublin, and the types of homes and when they were built. But asbestos is something that comes in all the time. So, what are the best practices for handling asbestos removal and making sure structural safety, especially in older homes? And who should homeowners consult for these issues? I get asked this all the time. I've no idea. Thankfully, we didn't have asbestos, but is there, what's the kind of best practice for that?
Yeah, we actually had it in a house around the corner from where you are at just before Christmas, and we ended up using a guy from Kilkenny who came up, and he's just like basically an asbestos specialist. I think he charged in the region of 750 or 800 quid. He did up a report, and interestingly enough, he actually saved us thousands and thousands and thousands of euro, because the building survey came back and said there was asbestos in these ceiling tiles that
Yeah.
have stairs in the house. And interestingly enough, after he did his inspection, he found there wasn't any asbestos in those tiles. The only place where the asbestos was a small section of lino underneath the stairs. So I had that report. I got onto a few different asbestos removal companies, and the difference in costs to remove that item were just crazy. I think the highest that got quoted was €3,000, and I think the person who did it for me did it for 400 or 500 euro. And like everything about the 400 or 500 euro person was completely legit. He gave us the certificate. He was totally compliant, and he was actually a pleasure to deal with. I have to say, it just appeared to be him and his father, a small business, Dublin guys. So that's how we went about it. And also, I know sometimes people are reluctant to spend the money on the expertise, but I think the expertise actually in the long run can save you a lot of money.
Yeah, and the health implications. I know my uncle has asbestosis from working for Aircom or whatever, the telecom Air back in the day, and sure, just going in drilling into ceilings with no safety. It just
Yeah.
wasn't known, and it can be a really, really, really big, serious issue. But then a lot of the time, it can be on, say, outbuildings, on the roof of a shed out the back. It's not absolutely necessary to remove them, is it, straight away, if it's not going to
No.
be disturbed?
Yeah, you're correct. If it's not going to be disturbed, asbestos, they say, is fine if it's left in situ. Essentially, I guess in the house that was being renovated, everything kind of had to come out of it. So we needed to make sure that the materials in that particular house were handled correctly. But you're right. If you were doing nothing to the shed, it's fine.
Cool. Okay. And if people want to get that person's number, maybe they could just pop you a DM on Instagram and you can put them in touch.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
You probably,
absolutely. Yeah,
probably don't know the name off the top of your head, so.
I don't. And they were actually a great crowd to be with. It was a family business, and they're actually lovely. It was a daughter, the son, and the father. Lovely people. So I'd happily recommend them.
I'm going to pause the podcast for a second because I want to talk to you about a company called Financial Planning Matters. Their website is fpms.ie. This is a company that I know very well, and the team behind it are fantastic. It's a small Irish company that believes that financial planning should be accessible, easy to understand, and affordable for everyone. That's why they offer personalised financial advice that's tailored to your unique needs and goals. Their team of expert financial planners will look at your current financial situation and develop a personalised strategy to give you a roadmap to achieve your financial goals. It's not just about setting up a pension or investing your money. They'll consider all aspects of your finances to help you get to where you want to be. So that could be saving for your deposit. It could be knowing where to invest your children's allowance. It could be maybe you have loads of money and you want to know what to do with it. So their customer service is incredible. I've been using them for over a year now, and I cannot recommend them enough. So check out fpms.ie. Now, back to the podcast. Right, so next question. How common is it for banks to withhold mortgage funds due to compliance issues, and what steps can be taken to address these?
I think the big thing is when you're trying to get a mortgage out with a property that might necessarily fit the bill of a property. So, for example, I looked at a property for a client in Kildare. The downstairs of it was like a hairdresser's, and the upstairs of it was an apartment. It wasn't fit out. You couldn't move into it. And I think the banks really, really panicked about it. I think to get around that, you need to do due diligence. You need to get a building surveyor in. You need to go to the extent of getting a structural surveyor in. You need to get a quantity surveyor in, and you need to really assess all of the different parts of the puzzle and basically put the case together to say, this is the current condition. This is what we need to do. This is how much what we need to do is going to cost. And these are the funds that we have available to us right now. And we need a mortgage down basically for balance. And essentially that's the way around it. It's very much due diligence. And I think us Irish people, I don't think we really understand the importance of due diligence, or we get a bit wary of giving people like quantity surveyors and structural engineers money because we just feel it's unnecessary. In that situation, you just have no choice. You have to go and you just have to do it properly.
Okay, deadly. Okay, very good. Now, this one, I know you are very clued into this. I did a bit of it in our house as well when it comes to energy efficiency and insulation. So let's say someone owns a home or is looking to buy a home and they want to improve the energy efficiency. what are the pros and cons of internal versus external insulation, and how should they decide between the different ventilation and heating systems? So I know a bit about this because we tackled it, but for us, the external insulation wasn't an option because we have red bricks on the outside and obviously didn't want to cover them. So we did it internally. Now, the problem with that is we lose about 10 centimeters off the external walls. So the rooms are a little bit smaller. But I don't know in terms of what's more efficient or what's a better insulator. Is it the same? And then, yeah, the different ventilation and the different heating systems.
Yeah, with the walls, I think the external insulation system really is better if it's an option, because if you imagine where your joists are, the insulation board runs up to the joists, and then you have that gap where the joists are, and that section isn't being insulated. So essentially, you have cold bridging in the house then, if the full wall isn't insulated. So the external, if it's available to you, it is a better option. Obviously, loads of houses in Dublin red brick, not an option, unfortunately. The other challenge then is with ventilation, and it's a big thing that loads of people would have missed when we first started to retrofit houses. Having adequate ventilation is absolutely essential, because if there isn't ventilation, you'll end up with a build up of mold, and rooms and spaces will just get moldy and they'll just be manky. So you need good airflow, regardless of the fact that you are insulating your house. Heating systems, very interesting one. I had Fergal on the Instagram page. I think Fergal might have did your house, if I'm not mistaken. And I was chatting through heat pumps for Fergal, and just the opinion on heat pumps and heating systems is so 50-50. Some people think they're great. Other people are very wary of them. Other people feel like something else is going to come along to supersede them. I guess a little bit like the way the attitude is when it comes to electric vehicles. So as a result, even though some people are putting a lot of work into insulating their attic, putting in new windows, doors, insulating their wall, they're still going with things like combi boilers, interestingly enough, So I think with the heating systems, divided opinion between the combi boilers and the heat pumps. So it just seems to very much be personal preference in those and which way you want to go. From what I can see, the heat pumps are actually amazing. If your house is suitable for a heat pump, great. I do think they're brilliant, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I have one. So I have a bit of experience with it. So I originally wanted to just do a combi boiler because it's a lot cheaper. And I wasn't sure where we'd get the house up to in terms of BER rating. So we started with a G. It was the lowest possible. Now, it turns out the previous owners had got the walls pumped. So that wasn't factored in. I didn't know that. So I saved a couple of grand there. But we insulated the internal walls, blocked up all the fireplaces. We put in the ventilation. They're like... I'm looking at them here in the wall. When I first saw them, I was like, Jesus, they're very big. They kind of look like a modem on the wall, but they're like, I think they're called Valdez or something, but they're basically supposed to open and close depending on the moisture level in the air. There's some sort of moisture strip in them. They're supposed to open and close automatically. Now, I don't think they do. I think they're just open all the time, but that's grand. You need a bit of ventilation because especially when the chimneys are blocked up. Like I always see, you see loads of mold in ads when I'm looking at ads on Daft or whatever, and you can see where somebody's blocked up the chimneys and haven't put ventilation in. Now I know if people are getting the house up to a really high standard in terms of BER rating, say A3 to A2 to A1, I think a heat pump is an absolute no-brainer. And I actually don't know if you can get to an A3 without a heat pump. Realistically,
I wouldn't imagine so.
With a combi boiler, and then I know a lot of the retrofit companies will only deal with heat pumps. They won't put in a combi boiler, and I guess that's where we're moving in terms of government policy as well, and all that. We're trying to get away from those fossil fuels and using the heat pump. So I know the heat pump thing. I've researched heat pump loads. I did a post on them. I'm doing a bit of work with Daikin, I think, next month with our heat pump. Like an information piece, and I've researched those, and it's still the only way I could describe it is it's magic, because air comes in and there's some sort of like magical thing that happens, and it turns and it makes your water hot. That's kind of it, right? You need an engineer to go through the ins and outs in it, but there's like a ratio 4-1, 3-1, whatever it is. But basically, for ourselves, we got the house up to an A3 with the inclusion of the heat pump and solar panels, which is pretty good going for a 100-year-old house. And our heating bills basically like the heating's only on maybe in the winter, and it's a really different type of heat with a heat pump. It's not like even the radiators are different. It's not like your combi boiler or your immersion, and you're heating up the hot water. Do you know when you go into a house in the winter, say an older house, and the heating's been on, you're just kind of hit with this wave of heat when you
You
go
feel
into the house.
iced, yeah, and
Yeah.
it makes you tired, and your skin is dry. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a different heat in this house. It's like, because it's a constant temperature, it's always at say 20 degrees, but they're also low heat radiators. The radiators never get hot. They're
yeah,
just kind of warm. So they're
yeah, yeah,
actually different radiators. So if people are looking at changing their heating system, you can't just switch from a boiler to a heat pump. You'll have to basically get, as far as I know anyway, all new radiators, because they're different types of radiators. They don't work off the same temperature. So like if I put my hands on the radiator, it's never boiling hot. Whereas I
yeah,
know if I go over to my mom's and the heating's on, you can't touch the radiator because you
yeah,
burn the hands off yourself.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it is a totally different system, but I just know our costs to heat the house and heat the water and all are pretty low. Like the solar panels, what they generate, and I have a really small setup. I have 3 on the back of the house, 3 on the front of the house. So they're not all firing at all times because of the orientation of the house. And we've 2 chimneys there that we share with the neighbors, so we can't remove them, that block a bit of sunlight from it. But I'll just show you now, just this year alone, I'm just looking at my phone here. So we're on the 17th of July. So just this year alone, I've gotten over 700 kilowatt hours. So that will obviously increase as you get through July and August, and September is usually decent. But it basically pays to run our hot water and our heating all year. And
yeah,
then really we're just paying, our electricity bill then is really just paying for the dryer, which is on like 3-4 times a day with kids' clothes and gym clothes and all that. It's and towels and bibs and all the rest. So it's just, anyone listening with young kids will understand like that the dryer's just on all the time, and the dishwasher's on all the time, the microwave's on all the time, and then we're cooking the induction hob, that saps a lot of electricity. So basically our electricity bills is kind of just paying for that, and the hot water, which is constant, by the way, it's constant hot water all the time, and the heating during the week all covered by the solar. So there's there will be a long enough payback period for the solar panels, but I just think it's a no-brainer in terms of your emissions, your own carbon footprint. That was my main motivation to do it rather than monetary.
yeah,
And but it does mean our monthly bills are quite low. So I'm a big fan of the heat pumps, to be honest, but you do need to have the house up to a really high standards and really well insulated. It doesn't have to be, airtight, but definitely I wouldn't be contemplating it if your house was a C, maybe even a B
yeah.
rating.
I
I think
have,
to
yeah,
improve
I,
it.
I have a post up on the page up on that I did. Fergal gave me a few pointers about it. So we did an Instagram live that I mentioned, and then I just kind of summarized it all in a post about heat pumps, and it's quite interesting, and it does outline exactly what you need and all the rest of it. So that's actually worth checking out if someone is considering a heat pump. Like, a lot of people have reached out to me to say that was actually really informative for thinking of getting a heat pump, thanks, and that sort of thing. It's quite educational. In fairness to Fergal, is quite informative. So yeah, and it covered off what you were saying there. But you know what? Just listening to you, it sounds like as if your house is actually nicer to live in now because you've actually put in the heat pump and that sort of thing, and because of the way the rats are. So it's not just a case of, okay, it's saving me a few quid or whatever. It's actually a nicer place to live. Done, as you say, if you had a setup, say like your mom's, and the rats are piping off for a particular period of time, and as I say, you walk in and you just get baked and your skin is just totally dry. Once the central heating begins to kick in, like the way we all would have experienced growing up, I suppose, in
Yeah,
Ireland in September, October time. So
yeah.
I think that's the big thing. So I know we all talk about BERs and savings, but it does actually make the house more comfortable to live in, and I think that's a huge thing.
Deadly. Yeah, it is. It's lovely. It is nice and more, but it's also, I understand it's extremely expensive and not an option for a lot of people. So it's always going to come down to your budget and what you're able for. So speaking of budget and figuring out how much things are going to cost, because that's going to be the biggest and most important thing. So as a quantity surveyor yourself, How can people find out and evaluate a good quantity surveyor? So what kind of specific questions should they ask to make sure they're hiring the right person for their project?
I think the big thing is, right, there's a lot of QSs that are more into commercial stuff, and if you're more into commercial stuff, it's a different thing. So you want someone that actually is predominantly spending their time working on houses. And if you look at, the QSs that most people are familiar with are the people who are on, say, with Dermot Bannon on Rooms to Improve. I think that's a good example because I think it's kind of highlighted, I suppose, the role of a QS, the career you'd have as a QS. But all of those people, and they've been predominantly female, for instance, like Patricia Power, Lisa O'Brien, and Claire Irwin, if they're all, professionals who would appear to predominantly deal with domestic properties. So I'd say that's the first thing. Make sure that they deal with domestic properties, because if someone is doing commercial stuff, commercial is very, very different. And when you get into commercial, you'd have people having particular specialisms, maybe in mechanical and electrical, for example, or maybe they might just specialize in partition systems and dry lining. That's a huge area as well. That'd be the biggest thing here, I guess, like someone who has that domestic experience.
Okay, make sure that's where they're working. And
yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then we have some quick fire questions, right? You're not allowed to take 10 minutes. It's answer these as short as you can, right? So first one is, what adds more value to a home? A high spec landscape garden or a nice kitchen?
I'm going to say garden because I think it gives you a good first impression.
I think people vastly underestimate how expensive a landscape garden is.
100%.
Like, it is insane how expensive they are. I see there's this crowd I follow on Instagram, and they do amazing jobs on gardens, and their content is really good. They make really cool videos and all. And I was looking at one, and I was like, it was like a house in Finglas, and I just had to reach out, and I was like, out of interest, because I'm just after doing this myself with a garden a quarter of that size. How much did that cost? And they were like 120 grand.
Oh, that's colossal, yeah.
For a standard garden in Finglas, like insane. Whereas, like, you get a really nice kitchen for 12, 15 grand. Really nice.
Yeah.
So I think people underestimate. And here's me telling you not to spend 10 minutes answering the things, but there's me
still thinking
that. Right, next question. Does converting an attic typically require planning permission?
It does even need a door or window, and in many cases, people do need a door or window to make it compliant in terms of the head height. So, yes and no is the answer there.
No,
a dormer window. Sorry, yes, if you need a dormer window. No, if you don't need a dormer window. But I imagine to do it properly, most people do need a dormer window. A lot of people have attic rooms, and when you look at them in an advert, it might appear that there's 4 bedrooms, but you'll often then see it's a 3-bed house, and then they'll refer to the attic as like storage space.
Yeah.
Or they might just say it's a converted attic suitable for, a home gym or a home office or something. It's not a habitable, proper space,
Yeah, because there's no fire exit. There's this look, don't get me started on that, the dodgy ads where they list it as a bedroom when it's not legally allowed to be listed as a bedroom. That's another podcast. Speaking of attics then, what would be a rough cost? I know you're going to say long as a piece of string. What's a rough cost estimate for converting an attic space? Let's say the standard 3-bed semi-D.
I'd say around €40,000.
Jesus. Okay. Very good. Next question. Is it worth holding off on building projects in hopes that material costs will decrease?
It's a gamble. It's like hoping property prices are going to decrease. It's very difficult to predict that. And it depends on your circumstances. So if you can afford to get the work done, you're planning to live in the house long term and you need to do the work, I just say fire ahead and do it, because it's so difficult to say when things will bottom out, for want of a better word. That's where I'd be at that.
Yeah, it's like nearly everything in Ireland. Prices never come down. And when they do, it's at the cost of a giant global recession where nobody has a job. So it's not really something to be wishing for. Right, last question. What's the first thing you should do when you find asbestos in your home?
I think if you think there's going to be asbestos, I'd be getting a survey done in the property. That's where I'd be starting. So if you're buying an old house, like a house near where you live in Dublin 8 there, I'd be factoring that into your budget and saying, like, look, we're going to do work here. Let's preempt this and let's get somebody in to do an asbestos survey. And as I say, if people want that person's name, by all means, send me a DM. But that's what I'd be doing there. I'd be kind of putting it I'd be pre-emptying it rather than saying how to fix it when you reach the problem.
Okay, I'm gonna trump your answer and say talk to the neighbours, because they've the same house. That's what we did. They've the same house, and find someone who's renovated the house and be like, did you find asbestos when you're renovating? And they might say yes. Then you know you're going to find it. But they might say, no, we actually got it tested and there wasn't. But I guess you won't know for sure. But that would be the first thing I do. And then maybe I'd look into it a bit more.
Yeah, I suppose though, like you are right. Like local knowledge is absolutely key. And I know my sister bought a place in Marino, probably in and around where you grew up, and that's exactly what she did. Like, and that helped her out, you know. But I suppose then, like people do things to their house, like where the asbestos was found in the example I gave earlier on. It was in a bit of lino, like it was basically the lino essentially, you know. So the house itself, the neighbor might say, no, we didn't actually. But then the house that you got, it might be in the floors or something because of what was laid at some point 50 or 60 years ago. So it's just very hard to tell, you know. It's just one of those things.
That's a very good point. You're right, actually. Yeah.
And when you buy an old house, like it is just kind of like Pandora's box. You just don't know what you're going to get. And it comes back to something you said about how other people have renovated and modified and personalized the house. And that's also a factor, you know. So it would just factor in, like it's 750 quid. And I think if you're buying an old house, I do think it's worth it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good answer. I forgot about that. It's not always in the ceilings and whatever. It can be in something that's been added in the 70s, like lino in the floor. So very good. Very good. You're right, Shay. I'm wrong, as usual. Anyway, that's all the questions. I really appreciate it. Thanks for enlightening us with your wealth of knowledge. You are looking well now for your wedding today.
Yeah,
not your wedding, someone else's wedding. Your guest.
I need to jump in the shower. I haven't had a shower yet. I actually got up and I'm off for the day, obviously, and I nipped around to get my car cleaned. But I planned to obviously don't have a combi boiler because there's no hot water when I went to jump in the shower, so didn't manage to have a shower before the pod. So yeah, there you go.
There you go. Now, if you had a heat pump, you'd have constant hot water. You wouldn't have to remember.
That's it, and I'd be dressed and ready to go to the wedding.
Yeah. Anyway. Thanks so much, Shay. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Thanks, Kieran.
Agus Shin A Lahai on episode shut of the Crazy House Prices podcast. I hope you found the episode helpful and Shay's tips really helpful. I think it's a really good episode. I think you'll get a lot from it, and hopefully it helps you navigate any kind of renovations or anything like that. So if you're enjoying the podcast and my Instagram and you want to show your support, head over to patreon.com/crazy house prices. Your support doesn't just keep this podcast going and the Instagram page going, but it also gives you exclusive access to bonus content like detailed Q&As where I answer every single question that's sent in. Plus you'll get the unique opportunity to engage with my community of over 100,000 followers, asking them questions that Google could never answer. So don't miss out on those really exclusive perks. And also my book, How to Buy a Home in Ireland, is available nationwide. If you can't get it in a bookshop, just Google it. You'll find it somewhere online. Eason's, I think, usually have it. And also check your local library. And I will chat to you all very soon. Slán go fóill.